Welcome to the Fractured Families podcast. I'm Charity, your dedicated parental alienation coach, here to guide and support families as they navigate the challenges of high conflict divorces and custody battles. On this podcast, we'll share insights, practical strategies, and hope for those on the journey toward healing and justice. Whether you're personally experiencing these challenges or just want to learn more about the complexities of parental alienation and custody disputes, you're in the right place. You are not alone. This is the Fractured Families podcast, where every voice matters and every story is heard. And if you find my conversation helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us reach more families who need it. Hi, thanks for joining the Fractured Families podcast. I'm Charity, your host. I have with me today Roberto, who's a guest from the United Kingdom. He's an alienated father. He has been separated from his children since approximately 2009, where the alienation tactics started approximately around that time. He's going to share with us his story of the battle over the years, what he noticed during the marriage, and how he became separated from his children and still doesn't talk to them today. Roberto, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you, Charity.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the marriage? What was that like?
In the beginning, the marriage was normal. Looking back now, after 16 years of healing, I realized there were quite a few red flags already in the beginning, which left me on my back foot, where I question them now. Right in the beginning, it was like, have you ever been abused? I was abused, but I just blocked it away for 33 years. I never spoke to anyone because when I was abused, I didn't have a voice completely, because when I was small, I swallowed a sewing pin, and they had to remove part of my lung, which left me where I couldn't speak until the age of about 6.5 years old, 7. So when I was abused, I had no voice. So my way of dealing with it was just blocking it away. She asked questions about sexual positions in previous relationships. She mentioned that she didn't want to get married. She didn't care if she didn't get married. All she wanted were the kids. And looking back, if I knew exactly what the red flags were back in 2000, I wouldn't have proceeded with the relationship.
So you proceed to get married and you have children.
Yeah. She rushed into the marriage, and I'm not saying I was perfect. She rushed into the marriage. Within 1 year, she wanted to get married and start straight away having children, which I wanted to get to know her a bit better, but I went along with her to avoid any arguments or disagreements. When my son was born, things started changing. She started accusing me of lying about my health. She made me feel guilty about having health issues, which she knew I had. She started with allegations or throwing unjust accusations. So I took a step back. I avoided being around my son on my own. I made sure that if I wanted to give my son a hug, I'd make sure she was there. So there was nothing.
How old was he when she started making these allegations?
6 months. 6 months old. She started not wanting to go to my parents' place anymore, trying to isolate me from my family. And it got worse when our daughter was born in 2005, 2 years after my son. And it just got worse. When we moved to the UK, it was a joint decision, and we both decided it's best for the children so they can go to a better school from South Africa. When we moved to the UK, that's when everything went worse. That's where things went downhill.
How old were the children when you moved to the UK?
My daughter was 2 years old. My son was 4.
So what do you mean by it went downhill from there? What does that look like?
Basically, we moved to the UK based on the fact I get a job. Because I applied in South Africa for a job at Tracker Network, which is the same like LoJack in America. I applied for the job, waited 2.5 months before I was informed that I got the job. In the meantime, in those 2.5 months, I was constantly put down, not just by my ex-wife, but also by her mom, to the point they were telling me, no, you're not going to get the job, you're a failure, you're stupid. My wife would get the job before me and she'd earn more money, and it was just like I didn't know where to go. I was on my own with all
Hmm.
this negativity. I'd lie in the lounge because we were staying with the mom for 2.5 months. I would be sleeping in the lounge, but I would be awake in tears, praying every night. That's when I started not feeling. That's when I started feeling like I was not enough. We used the mom's car once to go down to the beach. And the first thing I noticed, being an automotive engineer, first thing I noticed, I told my wife, I said, the automatic gearbox is slipping. Her mom uses a car, puts it into reverse, car's running fine, but the car doesn't move. She went to the point of accusing a roadside recovery engineer that the engineer sees that's not the clutch slipping.
So they ganged up against you. It was the both of them. It wasn't just her.
When we eventually got our own place, my wife would sleep with the kids in the main bedroom. I'd sleep in the
Mhm.
kids' bedroom because my wife was like, the kids need to settle down first. So I agreed with her. I didn't argue with her. I
Mhm.
agreed with her. Then got to the point where she was allowing the kids to do a lot of dangerous things, like jumping off a wall into the bathtub, jumping from an armchair onto the sofa, which are both dangerous things. Jumping from the armchair to the sofa, it was like a meter space between them with
Mhm.
the hard parquet flooring. So if the kids fell, they could have broken a leg, an arm, it could have been fatal. The same with jumping off the wall into the bathtub that was filled with water. When I asked the kids to stop doing either one, I should say shame, the kids are tiring themselves out if the kids were jumping from the armchair to the sofa. If they were jumping into the bathtub, shame they're diving into the swimming pool. So whatever I said was always dismissed. After I got the job as well, because they were not happy that I proved them wrong, she hit me with the silent treatment. A year later, after we moved to the UK in July 2008, I got home tired and exhausted from work. And I said, "What is wrong?" She got up and she came right here to my face and pointed a finger at me and said, "I'll tell you what's wrong. I want a divorce. I'll never give you custody of the kids. I will tell everyone that you abuse them." And to this day, she still denies threatening me. She denies allowing the kids doing dangerous things and dismissing whatever I said.
So did she file for divorce?
No, to be honest, she never filed for divorce.
And did she leave?
I got to the point in 2009 charity, I just couldn't take it anymore.
Hmm.
Because every day I'd get home from work and it was like threatening me, arguing with me. And I just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore and I
Hmm.
kicked her out. The reason why she came out with the allegations, it's the only way she could have remained in the UK because I was a sponsor on a 5-year family visa, which meant the only way she could remain in the UK is if there's child abuse or domestic violence. There's been no child abuse or domestic violence charity.
What was the relationship like with the children after you got settled in the UK?
Kids loved me. The relationship with the kids, they always got excited when
Hmm.
they saw me coming home from work. They used to go running like little not in a bad way, but they were like running like little monkeys, excited monkeys, getting a banana. And they were going around screaming, "Papa's home, Papa's home." And they'd come running up to me, giving me a hug. And every time that I got home and they gave me a hug, you could see she'd get angry, she'd tense up to the point where she'd take it out on the kids or start
Hmm.
an argument with me.
So do you think that the kids started to recognize that?
I think the kids probably recognize that.
So you come home, you get tired of her abusing you psychologically, emotionally, and you ask her to leave. What happens after that?
I eventually moved out of the family property as well, which was a rented 2-bedroom flat. She eventually got one. I was going from one friend to another friend, sleeping
Mhm.
on the sofa, to the point I couldn't do it anymore, and I started sleeping in my little car. I had a little Fiat, and I just slept in the back. At that time, I was also getting one-to-one counselling with Survivors UK, which is helps for men that were abused in their childhood. So I needed a place to stay. They actually gave me a letter, and eventually I got a council property. And I started off from scratch. I lost everything, Charity.
So during this period, as you're trying to work on yourself and you're trying to put your emotional health into place, what was your relationship? What did she allow your relationship to be like with the children?
First year, I was able to see the kids to the point where I had a friend that a year later that came onto the scene. It wasn't a relationship, it was just friends. And she helped me with the basic needs to build myself up when I eventually got a council property. And I asked my wife, I said, put her into the accusations. And she went off at me, swearing at me, effing and blinding. And I was like, couldn't speak to her. And that was the last day I saw my kids until 2012. Then the courts ordered contact with the kids, where I saw them every second week in a contact center. They were happy with me
What were the allegations like? What did she claim?
that I essayed the kids.
And no charges were ever put in place for that.
I was never locked up. Social services were involved from June 2009 up until September 2009. I was never locked up. I was never arrested or charged, and they closed the case
So
based on the fact
after,
that we both worked on our childhood problems, but she didn't accept the outcome of the social services.
so she kept them from you, and there was no court decision from 2000 from the unfounded allegations through 2011.
There was nothing. We went to court in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and first thing she said, "Oh, I want him to go and see a forensic psychologist because he's mentally unstable." Forensic psychologist turns around. Her allegations are unjustifiable, but I needed to get more therapy for my childhood trauma, which I
Yeah.
did. She never accepted it.
And
She
what were
just
the
said,
weekends like? So she wouldn't accept that. She wanted to find fault in you and give you no reason to be with the children, but the judge gave you time, and the children seemed to be excited and happy about that.
yeah, they were excited and happy seeing me. The
Mm-hmm.
outcome from seeing the kids in the contact center was actually kids were quite happy with the father. She didn't accept that. It's like all of a sudden she became a qualified psychologist to say that the outcome of the forensic psychologist report was false, and a therapist overlooking the contact with the kids wasn't carried out properly just to keep the kids away. I was accused of lying about my health. The neurologist and my therapist in 2019 put it down to the emotional and mental abuse from her, because in 2018 my muscular dystrophy, Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, deteriorated to the point I lost both my legs. Even with a doctor's letter in the final court hearing, that said I'm not known to mental health team or anything. Even the GP was lying, according to her.
So after the visits in 2011 and her rejection, not that her opinion should have mattered, what happened with that? And did the court favor with her?
She pushed for therapy.
Okay.
She pushed for therapy. I should have paid £2,000. She only had to pay like £1,000, which to see my kids, I would have done anything. To
Mm-hmm.
have normal contact with my
Mm-hmm.
kids, I would have done anything. So I agreed to the court order. She had to keep me informed about the kids' health, kids' schooling. 2012, my daughter broke her arm. I was not informed about that. I wasn't informed about my daughter breaking her arm. I found out 2 weeks later. She just turns around to the court. I didn't know I had to tell him. She changed the kids' school without informing me. I went, Charity, I lost it. I literally thought my kids were taken out of the UK without my consent.
How did you realize they were taken to a different school? Did you
I
get
found the school
notification?
because I didn't get any school report. But I knew I had to go back to court because the therapy, which should have been to rebuild the relationship between the kids and myself, I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
honour the court order because I had a road traffic accident because of my health deteriorating. So I had to close my business. I became wheelchair bound. I couldn't walk anymore. Because of all the emotional abuse, my condition deteriorated to the point where I just couldn't walk. So when I could, I went back to court, informed the courts, I fear my kids were abducted out the country. And I informed the courts I could not honor the court order. Because I couldn't pay the therapy, she
Hmm.
made the decision to keep me out of the therapy sessions. I attended one where my son came running back to me in front of the therapist, threw his arms around me, gave me a big hug and a kiss, and said, Daddy,
Hmm.
I love you and I miss you. And that was two, the same day, 2 years after my dad passed away, 20th of November 2013. That was the last time I saw the kids. And that
Gosh.
was in therapy.
So tell me how that happened. She just stopped.
I emailed the therapist. I said, look, this is my situation. They didn't accept the fact I could not afford the therapy sessions. I told them my health conditions deteriorated. I'm now in a
Mhm.
wheelchair. I cannot work. They didn't accept it. The therapist still said, I will speak to your wife and see which way she wants to go with this therapy. I then got an email from the therapist and he said, Miss Sardelli has decided that you're not going to be attending any more therapy sessions. But I got accused of being in breach of a court order.
And so because of that, did they take away your parenting rights?
I feel like my parental responsibilities and my parenting rights were taken away.
So she really dictated to the courts what was going to happen and they just aligned with her. So after you saw the kids last in 2013, did you attempt to contact her at all?
I didn't try contacting her. I was sending emails to the kids, wishing them a happy
Mm.
birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy Easter. Every month I wrote a letter to the kids, which I've got it boxed. I've got all the letters boxed in the storage unit outside. I've got all the letters there, stored in a box, birthday cards, everything. The only way I communicated with the kids was via email, through her email address.
And did they respond to you ever?
Not once.
And what about extended family? Did you have any family that had any communication with them?
Contact with my mom stopped in 2016. Just like that, she just stopped contact with my mom. My family don't have any contact with the kids. However, I'm going with my gut feeling now that I believe she's trying to communicate with family members now. Like my nephew that stays 30 minutes away. I'm trusting my gut instinct now after what I've
Mhm.
experienced that she is doing it.
So she's trying to reach out to them?
Yeah, to try and isolate me even more.
What does she say? Like, what is she, after all this time, what is her purpose? What is her goal?
I don't know. I don't know what her goal is. Looking back in the beginning, her previous, her first husband, according to her, was abusive, an
Hmm.
alcoholic, unstable, and he took his life. And he was cheating. I got accused of being abusive, an alcoholic, especially when my ankles and knees gave in. She turned around and said, "Oh, you're on the floor again, like my ex-husband. Alcoholic, like my ex-husband, always on the floor." With my ankles and knees giving in. And because my ankles and knees gave in, that is the reason why I've lost both legs.
And she used that against you.
She used my health against me. She's tried using my mental health against me, even though I've been cleared. I mean, just in January, I went for a mental health evaluation because in 4 days' time, I'm due further amputation. I'm not mentally unstable. I'm not mentally ill. I explained to them I'm suffering with CPTSD,
Mhm.
anxiety, and triggers. They said that's normal.
So in 2013, your children were still quite young, and you've gone all these years and now they're adults. Have you heard from them at all? Do you try to make any contact? Do you know where they're at?
I don't know where they live. I do not know which schools they go to. I don't know anything about them. In 2017, we went back to court. Actually, 2016, we went back to court when the therapist report came out. And the judge ordered a finding of facts hearing. And the judge asked both of us, has there been a finding of facts hearing? I said no. The judge ordered one. The moment the judge ordered one, she went blood red in her face and she stormed out the courtroom. And I was all for it. A year later, CAFCAS, the Children and Family Court Advisory Support Service, They turned around and said, "Oh, if you drop the finding of facts hearing, we'll let you see the kids." Never saw the kids in 2017. So, but my health was used against me in the final hearing. My mental health, even though there was nothing wrong with it, was used against me. I tried speaking out about the abuse she put me through. It's like everyone turned a cheek towards it. I mentioned how she would call me a failure, stupid, mentally ill, imbecile for messing coffee because she'd literally make a mug of coffee filled right up to the brim. With my hand tremors, if I took the mug, I'd mess it. At the point she'd even get the kids to start laughing at me, saying your father's like an overgrown baby, he can't even hold a mug of coffee.
So did they become hurtful toward you as well during that time, or did they just do it when she encouraged it?
I think that over time, with her being at home and I was out working, she
Mm-hmm.
was encouraging it. One thing I did notice were the things that the kids were saying. My daughter was saying a lot of things which, for a 2-year-old, didn't make sense. Now, my ex-wife, she was born, grew up in South Africa. She spoke English and Afrikaans. I was born in northern Rhodesia, which is now Zambia. Only language there that they spoke was English. But both my parents are Italian, so I speak English and Italian. According to her, everything that the kids were saying, it was all in Afrikaans and in English. If I had to say something that was inappropriate to the kids, or something that was inappropriate, that and the kids were in front of me, I'd say it in Italian. And if the kids asked me, "What did you say?" I'd say, "I'll tell you when you're 21." That's how I was
Mm-hmm.
brought up. And nobody listened to me, Charity. The courts never listened to me. Even when I was in the wheelchair, in the courtroom, oh, he's lying about his health. It's like
Courts, what did the courts say about that when she claimed that you were lying about your health? They didn't
they didn't do
ask for
anything.
health records. They didn't ask for anything.
No. In 2017, son was 14. He made a statement to Kepkes saying, "If I tip out of my wheelchair, he's going to take photos and he's going to laugh." I never told him that I'm in the wheelchair.
Mm.
I also never told the kids or my wife I've got to lose both my legs.
How do you
So
think she found out?
I still had her family on my Facebook
Mm.
as friends.
Mm.
So I think it came from them to her, and she's then fed the kids.
What did Kafka say about that when he said that?
Nothing. They said it's normal. And I'm thinking, well, what's it going to be like if he does come across somebody else that's in a wheelchair? Will he want to? Will he want the same thing?
Yeah. And so did you see them at the court hearing in 2017?
No, because they didn't want the fact-finding hearing or the finding of facts hearing. They didn't want it because one, it would have shown Kefkas didn't do the investigation properly, and it would have exposed my ex-wife.
And you didn't want that?
I wanted it. I wanted the finding of facts hearing. It was
Oh.
them they didn't want. They
Oh, so she
literally turned
didn't.
around.
Okay.
Kefkas turned around and said, "Well, if you don't push for the finding of facts hearing, we'll let you have contact with the kids." Still waiting for their contact.
So they basically manipulated you.
Yeah.
So they go up here in 2017. You don't have the fact finding. And then what happens after that? Do the courts just
The
decide
courts
you're,
ordered that I write to the kids via email, but it was one-sided. I never got a reply. The courts ordered that she keep me informed about the schooling, kids' schooling and health. I've heard nothing. I heard
and
nothing about kids' schooling or
when
anything.
you went to court and said that you believe the children were out of the country, what was their position on that?
The judge which I went in front, and I will take my hat off to this judge, because she's the same one that ordered the finding of facts hearing. She actually
Okay.
recognized me. She says, "I remember you when you came back to court, when you could not honor the court order by paying for the therapy." And the moment I said, "I don't know if the kids are in the UK or not," she said, "We will find the kids. It will take time. We
Mm-hmm.
ask you to be patient." I said, "That's fine. I'm putting my trust in you."
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "As for the therapy payments, that can be overridden." So I went from having to pay the £2,000 to paying 12 payments of £20 a month. But according to her, I'm in breach of a court order.
So did they find the children?
They found the kids, and we went back to court. I attended court at the end of December, middle of December 2014. We went back to court end of January 2015, and the judge asked, why did you not inform the father about the change of school? I thought that the school would have informed him. I'm like, school is not the parents. She came out with that poor little old me, victim mode voice. I didn't know how to inform him.
So it's been 12 years since you've seen your kids. No communication.
No communication.
And you don't even know where they're at. And they're adults now, 20 and 22.
I've got to the point where the moment both kids turned 18, I thought it's pointless emailing them because it's just one-sided.
Yeah.
And I just kept on writing letters. Because every time I'd send them an email, not get a reply, it would just tear me to pieces. It would just tear me to pieces. And in 2019, when she found out I lost both my legs, oh, please can you tell me what your condition is?
So she reached out to you.
She must have found out through family on my Facebook account that I lost both my legs. She emailed me. She said, please can you let me know what your condition is so I can monitor the kids? I said, no. Up until now, you've been accusing me of lying about my health, so.
And she hadn't given you any relationship with the kids. What was she just going to be more derogatory about you toward them?
I don't know what her plan was, unless she was trying to come across as being the heroic parent.
I'm so sorry. This is so heartbreaking. 13 years is so long. So as we wrap up, any final thoughts?
Never give up on your kids, because one day they're going to come back. That's what I believe in. I do believe my kids will come looking for me one day, and my door will be wide open for them.
Yeah, I just wish there was some way. And you don't even know if they have any type of social media or anything.
I've been blocked on the social media, so I can't reach out. And if I do, she's probably controlling the social media.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so heartbreaking, and sorry about your health problems. And
I accepted my health problems because I knew I had health issues. And
hopefully one day they do come back and they see everything you post and they come back, and I know you'll be there waiting for them.
Definitely, Charity, definitely.
Thank you for being a guest on the Fractured Families podcast.
Thank you so much, Charity. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fractured Families podcast. I hope our conversation has provided you with support, understanding, and actionable insights to help you navigate your own family challenges. Remember, healing is a journey, and reaching out for help is a sign of strength. You're not alone. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more families in need. You can contact me on social media at Parental Alienation is Real, and visit our website for additional resources and ways to get involved. Stay strong, stay connected, and keep fighting for the family bonds that matter most. Until next time, take care and stay resilient.